One of the most important observations about human potential that's probably ever been made came about 2,000 years ago when Plutarch pointed out to us that what we achieve internally changes outer reality. What he was talking about, of course, is our ability to envision something in our mind's eye that does not yet exist outside of the confines of our corporeal bodies, and the power to manifest those things, to make them solid very often in the world outside ourselves. Very often when we think about imagination and manifestation, we think about things like architecture or innovations. Innovations that change industry, innovations that change our lives, that give someone who has had limbs amputated new mobility, or in the case of the largest object in this slide, the Jarvik 7 artificial heart, while it was not perfect, it was a pivotal step in our quest to not only save lives, but to extend them. These are the kinds of things that we like to think about when we think about the power of our imagination. But the rub that comes with Plutarch's observation is that it's at once a blessing and a curse. Because as Winston Churchill pointed out, where there is great power, there is great responsibility. And we don't always handle that responsibility terribly well, because very often the things that we create, the things that we manifest, create chaos. The image in the top right on this slide is of a child suffering from birth defects that are the result of Agent Orange. The image in the bottom right is the gate to Dachau, the brainchild of Heinrich Himmler. Dachau, of course, was the blueprint for all of the concentration camps that followed. And that third image, I think we all know what that is. That image is the result of the creative work of a group of people that were the Manhattan Project. This particular mushroom cloud rose over Hiroshima. While our imaginations can create awe and wonder, they can also create devastation. I want you to take a look at a different piece of architecture. Very nondescript office building that could be any place on the planet, really. I'd like you to imagine that this photo is not in black and white, but that it's in color. I'd like you to take a look at it and imagine this building on a perfect spring morning. The sky is crystal blue, not a cloud in sight. The sun is just starting to dance off the windows, gold, amber. The temperature, it's mild, it's pleasant. There's perhaps a little bit of a breeze. I want you to hold that image in your mind. We'll come back to it. I'm going to tell you a little story about two men who in 1992 and 1993 were paying attention to some events in the news, some things that really bothered them. And by 1994, they were looking for something to do, some way to respond to these events. They got a picture in their mind's eye. They sat down, they put pen to paper, and they started to develop a plan. Do any of you recognize this building? For those of you who don't recognize it in this form, it's probably because you recognize it like this. In 1992, Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were paying attention to what was going on at Ruby Ridge. In 1993, they were paying attention to what was happening at the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. And by 1994, they were collecting fertilizer and fuel oil, stealing dynamite, and in 1995, on April 19th, they packed a rental truck full of that fertilizer, fuel oil, and dynamite, and Timothy McVeigh parked it in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, walked away, and left us with this chaos. They left us with this chaos, but this chaos isn't where the story ends. There's another image that most of you probably associate with the Oklahoma City bombing. And just by the fact that I've said it, you probably know immediately that I'm talking about this image. The firefighter in this image is Chris Fields, and the little baby girl is Bailey Almond. Together, they captured a nation's imagination. For me, personally, I never met any of the 168 people that died that day. I never met Bailey Almond. But she stayed with my imagination. She held on to it for a very long time. Day after day, week after week, month after month. For more than a year, I asked myself questions about Bailey. Who might she have become if she hadn't been murdered that day? What might she have achieved if she'd been allowed to grow up? And then I started asking myself a different question. How could I respond to her murder? What could I do that might make a difference? Somewhere in 1997, I finally came up with the answer to that question. I decided the only thing that I could do that would really honor Bailey Almond was to become a teacher. Ironically, I had told the chair of my undergraduate department in 1990 that I would never become a teacher, that was the furthest thing from my mind, and no, that was not the path I was going to walk. But in 1997, it became the only path that I could walk. Now, yes, I've done other things since I made that decision. I've worked in politics, I've worked in civil rights, I've obviously been an artist and a writer. But for almost 20 years, in various ways and in various settings, I've been a teacher. And that decision changed my life. My response to Bailey's murder changed my life. That little girl's hold on my imagination has made all the difference in my life. If Bailey was alive today, she'd be turning 22 in just a few weeks. She would be the age of many of my students right now. And perhaps in just 5 weeks, she would be walking to pick up her diploma alongside my current students. Our imagination is the thing that drives every single thing that we do in life. It is the source of every philosophical question ever asked. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? Is there a God? Is there life on other planets? It drives everything. And because of that blessing and curse, because we can and do create chaos at the global level, at the national level, because we create chaos in the lives of people around us every day, we have to take this responsibility much more seriously. I'm watching a woman respond to events in her own life right now in a very profoundly negative way. She's creating chaos. She's destroying relationships, not only her own, but other people's relationships. The way that she has chosen, the things that she has made manifest in response to this event in her own life, is causing devastation in the life of one young person. With all of that in mind, life comes down to 3 basic questions. What do you want to create? What kind of impact do you want to have? And how will you manifest that responsibly?